A few years ago, a friend of mine told me something that stuck in my head. He said, "In the United States, there are two kinds of people, those who are always chasing money and those who make money run after them." At that moment, I laughed. I thought, that sounds like motivational talk. But the more I looked around me, the more I realized he was right. How many people do you know who work nonstop, work overtime, take two jobs, try to save as much as possible, and yet never manage to truly accumulate wealth? Meanwhile, others seem to grow financially effortlessly, making accurate decisions and building wealth consistently. I wondered, what is the real secret of this difference? That's when I started to study in depth how some of the most successful communities deal with money. And one specific group has always stood out: the Jews. Whether on Wall Street, Silicon Valley, or in real estate, Jews have always been among the most prosperous groups in the United States. And it's no coincidence. There's a rule they've followed for centuries, a principle so powerful that it's shaped how they build wealth, make financial decisions, and multiply their money. But here's the most interesting thing. This rule isn't about luck. It's not about working hard to exhaustion. And it's not about cutting back on spending until there's nothing left. Few people talk about it. It is a knowledge that has been passed down from generation to generation, applied by great investors, entrepreneurs, and financial leaders. And today, I'm going to share that rule with you. So if you want to finally understand how money really works, and how to use it to your advantage, the same way that big names in the American market do, this video is for you. But first, I want to ask you a question. What else prevents you from prospering financially today? Lack of knowledge? Lack of opportunities? Afraid to take risks? Comment below, because I want to know what is the biggest obstacle that prevents you from achieving your financial freedom. If you want to master the principles that Jews have used for centuries to achieve prosperity, this is your place. Here, I reveal time-tested strategies applied by large investors and entrepreneurs. Confirm your registration and be part of a community that is transforming your view of wealth and success. Now get ready, because what I'm going to reveal to you is something that no one has ever told you about the prosperity of the Jews. If there's one thing that has always intrigued me, it's how some people seem to have an invisible shortcut to wealth. Have you noticed that? While many work tirelessly, sacrificing time, health, and family, trying to balance accounts that never stop growing, there is a select group that seems to always be one step ahead. They make the right decisions, create successful businesses, multiply their investments, and, most impressively, do all this without appearing to be as worn out as most feel. I used to believe that this was just a matter of luck or privilege. But when I began to study more deeply the financial behavior of the most successful, I realized that there was a pattern. One particular group stood out: the Jews. Not only do they thrive, but they do so consistently, generation after generation, in different areas of the market. Have you ever noticed how many Wall Street investors, how many Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, how many real estate moguls follow financial principles that come from that culture? This is no coincidence. The answer lies in something that almost no one talks about openly. There is a quiet strategy, a principle that shapes the way Jews view money and make it work in their favor. And here's the key point. This strategy isn't just about working hard. Of course, effort is part of the process, but there is a huge difference between random effort and strategic effort. And this is where the concept that I'm going to reveal to you comes in. In the midst of my research, I met a Jewish businessman who had built an empire in the real estate market. He started from scratch, with no inheritance, no great initial opportunities. But instead of going the traditional route, of simply working longer hours and waiting for the money to accumulate over the years, he applied a principle he learned within his community. He understood that it was not enough to just make an effort. It was necessary to know where to put that effort. And that's exactly what made his fortune grow exponentially. He didn't invest time in any opportunity. He looked for the best. He didn't expend energy on impulsive decisions, but rather on calculated moves. And more than that, he trusted the process. This balance between action and trust, between effort and strategy, is what differentiates those who build wealth sustainably from those who just chase after money without ever achieving it. This principle, which has been part of Jewish culture for centuries, is applied by some of the brightest minds in the financial market. Great investors follow this rule without fanfare. Billionaires use it to grow their wealth, but few people really understand what is behind it. You may even think you've heard of something similar before, but the way it's applied makes all the difference. And the most curious? This concept doesn't require you to have $1 million in your account to get started. It doesn't require you to already have an established business or a powerful network. What it requires is a change in the way you see and your ability to make strategic decisions. Now, think with me. How many times have you tried your best to achieve a financial goal and, in the end, felt that the results were not proportional to the work you had? How many times have you followed the traditional advice to save, cut spending, sacrifice, and still feel like wealth seemed like a long way off? The problem is not a lack of work. The problem is how this work is being directed. The concept that I will present to you in a moment teaches exactly that. He explains how Jews thrive, even in adverse scenarios, how they reinvent themselves in times of crisis, and most importantly, how they multiply their money without getting stuck in cycles of scarcity. And to be clear, this is not theory. This is not an abstract philosophy or a pretty idea that works only for a few. This is a practical principle which can be applied by anyone willing to change the way they handle money. And I want you to join that conversation. Tell me in the comments, do you feel that you have been working hard, but without seeing proportional results? Do you believe that the lack of financial knowledge has prevented you from prospering? I want to know your opinion, because this is one of the biggest challenges that many people face without realizing it. Now the big question, what is this principle? What exactly do Jews apply that makes their relationship with money so different from most people's? I'll tell you now. Have you ever heard the phrase, work hard and success will follow? This is one of the biggest myths about wealth that we have been taught since we were little. Of course, effort is essential, but if effort alone were enough, the hardest working people would be the richest. And we know that this is not how things work. There is a principle that goes beyond simply working hard, something that many billionaires quietly follow, but is never taught in schools or on ordinary financial advice. This principle is called HISHTADLUT. HISHTADLUT is not just about effort. It's about the right effort in the right place at the right time. If you spend all your energy on the wrong path, you will never reach the desired destination, no matter how hard you try. That's why so many people work for years without leaving their place, while others seem to take giant leaps in a matter of months. The difference is in the way each one applies their effort. Now, think of someone you know who is always busy. That person who lives exhausted, who wakes up early, sleeps late, works overtime, takes on extra projects, but at the end of the month is always in the same place. This person is applying effort, no doubt. But is this effort being directed in the right way? Now, compare it to those entrepreneurs who always seem to have time, who are at networking events, who do business at lunches and close contracts while traveling. It seems that they are putting in less effort, but the truth is that they have understood how to use effort strategically. This is HISHTADLUT. Imagine an entrepreneur in New York who started a small business. He could do everything himself, serve customers, manage social networks, deal with accounting, close contracts, do logistics. But if he tried to go down that path, he would be exhausted and unable to grow up. Instead, he decides to hire a person to handle the service, delegates the financial part to an accountant, and focuses his energy only on what really matters: expanding the business, making strategic connections, and investing in what generates returns. In a few months, its revenue doubles. This is no coincidence. He applied HISHTADLUT. And this concept doesn't just apply to business. If you invest, you have already realized that it is not enough to just put money in the market and wait. You need to know where and how to invest. Investing money without strategy is the same as working without planning. You may even have some return, but never as much as possible. The investor who understands HISHTADLUT does not throw money at any asset. He studies, looks for smart opportunities, knows when to enter and when to leave. It directs your efforts to multiply your money as efficiently as possible. Now look at your own financial life. Do you feel like you're applying effort in the right way? Or are you spending energy on what doesn't bring a return? Many people follow the traditional path because that's what they've learned. They work for years in the same job, do basic planning, Try to save, but never think about the efficiency of the effort. The difference between those who prosper and those who remain stagnant is precisely in this detail. Another interesting example. Think of the big tech investors. Do you think Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos built empires because they simply worked longer hours than everyone else? Of course not. They applied the effort where it really mattered. Musk, for example, knew he couldn't build Tesla alone. He brought in the best engineers, sought out the right investors, and directed his energy toward strategic decisions. This is the concept that Jews have been applying for centuries. Work hard, yes, but with intelligence. This principle explains why, even in times of crisis, Jewish communities are able to get back on their feet quickly. While many people despair and seize at any opportunity, trying to solve problems with unbridled effort, those who follow Hishtadlut know that the answer lies not in doing more, but in doing better. This Jewish principle will change your financial life, and for you not to miss any details about Hishtadlut, leave your like on the video. You may still be wondering, but does this strategy really work? It makes sense in theory, but is there a concrete way to prove that Hishtadlut really can transform the way we build wealth? The answer lies in the patterns that are repeated among those who accumulate wealth consistently, in the success stories we find in the financial market, and in the statistics that show how strategic effort generates results far superior to simple hard work without planning. Studies show that the Jewish community excels in generating wealth. According to the Pew Research Center, Jews are among the most financially successful groups, outperforming the average in terms of income, education, and accumulated wealth. But this prosperity doesn't just come from tradition or culture. It comes from sound financial principles applied strategically over time. Hishtadlut is one of them. This concept teaches that, instead of just working harder, it is necessary to work better, allocating efforts intelligently to multiply money and opportunities. The Federal Reserve has already published research that indicates that the main difference between those who accumulate wealth and those who live only on their salary is in the way they use their resources. Those who apply Hishtadlut understand that money and time are powerful tools and must be used strategically. This mindset prevents the person from falling into the cycle of just exchanging hours for money and opens doors to opportunities that really make a difference in the long run. To illustrate this, let's take a real-world example and compare two different mindsets. Imagine two professionals who started their careers at the same time, earning exactly the same salary. The former follows the traditional route: work hard, work overtime whenever you can, save money, and hope that over time your effort will pay off. The second, however, decides to apply Hishtadlut. He not only works, but directs his efforts strategically. He uses part of his time to study the market, look for new opportunities, and expand his network of contacts. He understands that the right knowledge can accelerate your financial growth much more than just working longer hours. 5 years later, the first is still in the same job, with a slightly higher salary but without major changes in his financial life. The second, on the other hand, managed to increase his income significantly, either because he got a better position due to the connections he created, or because he invested in financial education and started to make his money work for him, or even because he found a business opportunity that multiplied his earnings. The difference between the two was not the amount of effort, but the way that effort was directed. This logic applies to several areas, including investments. Let's imagine two investors who have $1,000 available. The first decides to put this money in a savings account, accumulating minimal interest over the years. The second, in turn, invests part of this money in courses to learn more about the financial market, researches the best opportunities, and strategically invests its capital in assets that have high potential for appreciation. After a few years, the former will have accumulated a modest amount, while the latter may have multiplied his investment many times over. That is the power of Hishtadlut in practice. The same happens in the real estate sector. In large cities where the market is highly competitive, those who apply strategic effort know that they cannot simply buy a property without planning. They study trends, analyze growing neighborhoods, look for opportunities that are often off the radar of the general public. They don't buy on impulse or emotion, but rather based on data and strategic connections. In this way, While some people make investments that yield little or even result in losses, those who apply HISHTADLUT can turn small opportunities into big gains. This principle is also visible in the business world. Think of entrepreneurs who have built empires. Do you think Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk got rich just because they worked harder than everyone else? What sets them apart was not the amount of effort, but the direction of that effort. Bezos, for example, focused on Amazon's growth strategically, investing where it really made sense, and delegating functions that didn't need his direct attention. Musk does the same, dividing his time between several companies, but always focusing on the aspects that really bring innovation and growth. This is the same principle applied by large Jewish investors for centuries. And this approach is not exclusive to large entrepreneurs or investors. It can be applied by anyone who wants to get out of the cycle of just surviving financially and really start to thrive. You can use HISHTADLUT in your career, choosing to invest time and energy in what will really take you to the next level. You can use it in your financial day-to-day, looking for opportunities that allow you to multiply your money instead of simply saving it without a strategy. You can apply it to the way you manage your time, eliminating unnecessary efforts and focusing on what really brings results. Jewish families pass this teaching from generation to generation. From an early age, children learn that money should not be treated only as a resource for daily expenses, but as a tool to create more opportunities. This explains why so many families in this community are able to preserve and expand their wealth over time, while others end up wasting their resources because they do not have a clear strategy. Now, think about your own financial life. Do you feel like you're putting effort into what really makes a difference? Or do you have the feeling that you're always chasing money without ever achieving your goals? I want you to comment below. I choose the strategic effort. If you want to stop wasting energy and start applying this principle in your life. Now that you understand the power of HISHTADLUT and see how this principle has transformed the lives of so many people who apply effort strategically, the big question is how to put it into practice in your financial life. Knowing that something works is a great start, but real change happens when you take concrete action, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. The first thing you need to understand is that HISHTADLUT starts in your mindset. If you still believe that the only way to get rich is to work to exhaustion, sacrifice yourself without planning, or simply rely on luck, you are holding back your own growth. The right mindset is one that values strategy over blind effort. Working hard has its value, but working smart can multiply your results without requiring unnecessary wear and tear. Think about the most successful investors you know. They do not waste energy on operational tasks that do not generate returns. They study, analyze trends, choose the best times to act, and make their financial decisions based on knowledge and data, not impulsiveness. To apply HISHTADLUT, you need to start thinking like these people. Your every action should be intentional, focused on growth and maximizing resources. But how to change this mentality in practice? The first step is to surround yourself with knowledge. And here I'm not just talking about consuming random content about money, but about studying deeply how wealth is built. If you are not yet in the habit of reading about finance, investments, and business, this is the time to start. There are thousands of books, courses, and materials that teach how ordinary people have transformed their financial realities with strategic decisions. Also, pay attention to the opportunities around you. The market is full of possibilities for those who are prepared to see them. How many times have you seen someone say that so-and-so got lucky because he bought a property before the appreciation or invested in a company before it exploded? This is not luck. It's preparation. Those who practice HISHTADLUT are always aware of what can generate growth. Another essential aspect of this principle is to understand that no one grows alone. Prosperity doesn't happen in a bubble. Therefore, you need to start building a strategic network of contacts. And this doesn't just mean meeting people, but creating connections that can open doors and accelerate your growth. Have you noticed how great businessmen, investors, and entrepreneurs are always participating in events, conferences, strategic meetings? They know that opportunities don't come out of nowhere, but are created through networking. And this goes for any area. If you want to grow in the financial market, you need to be close to people who understand investments and strategies. If you want to build a business, you need to connect with other entrepreneurs, investors, and mentors. Technical knowledge is essential, but many of the most valuable opportunities come through the right connections. Now, an important point. It's not enough to just learn and connect. You need to take action. Many people spend years studying about investments, listening to success stories, attending inspiring lectures, but never take the first step. The true practitioner of HISHTADLUT does not get stuck in the world of ideas. He analyzes, plans, and acts with confidence. And acting does not mean being impulsive. It means making calculated decisions based on solid information and without fear of taking the first step. Those who apply this principle understand that success does not happen overnight, but through continuous strategic movements. Want a practical example? Think of an investor who receives a $10,000 bonus. Many people would take this money and spend it on things that would not bring return. Others would keep everything in savings, where growth is extremely slow. But someone who applies HISHTADLUT would do it differently. He would divide this amount into strategic opportunities. One part could be invested in a growth fund, another could be used to acquire an asset that appreciates in the long term, and another could be used for a course that would increase his professional skills. In a few years, that same money could have multiplied several times. And here's a crucial point. HISHTADLUT is not just about money, but about positioning. There's no point in having capital if you don't know how to use it. And there's no point in having knowledge if you never put it into practice. Another very common example happens in the real estate market. Those who follow HISHTADLUT don't buy a property just because they've heard someone say it's a good investment. He researches, analyzes the potential for appreciation, considers factors such as location, infrastructure, and future demand. He also understands that real estate can be an extremely valuable asset, but only if it is acquired strategically. And this goes for any type of investment. If you want to invest in the stock market, it is not enough to follow generic recommendations. You need to understand which companies have real growth potential, study their fundamentals, and make decisions that make sense in the long run. If you want to be an entrepreneur, there is no point in opening a business just because it is fashionable. It is necessary to identify promising niches, study the competition, and structure a solid plan. But beyond knowledge and action, there's a third essential element that separates those who truly thrive from those who give up along the way: trust in the process. This is because, when you start applying HISHTADLUT, it may seem that the results do not come immediately. And that's the big trap that many people fall into. They start with enthusiasm, start studying, strategize, make their first investments or career changes, but when they don't see a quick return, they begin to doubt if they are on the right track. Impatience becomes a silent enemy. Many give up even before giving time for their strategic actions to start bearing fruit. But think about this. How many times have you seen someone drop a project, a business, or an investment because they thought it wasn't working, only to see someone else keep going, insist, and later reap the results? This happens all the time. Those who truly prosper understand that wealth is not built overnight. Financial growth follows the same logic as smart investing. The biggest gains come over time, as small strategic decisions accumulate and generate a multiplier effect. Those who today enjoy financial stability and great opportunities started by taking small, consistent actions, trusting the process, even when the results were not yet visible. Every choice well made, every investment thought out, every effort directed creates a solid foundation for a more prosperous future. If you plant a tree today, you can't expect it to bear fruit tomorrow. But those who continue to water, prune, and care for this tree will one day see the branches laden down. This is exactly how HISHTADLUT works. What you do now could be the missing key to transforming your financial reality in the coming months or years. You've come this far and you've realized that true financial success doesn't just come from hard work, but from working smart and strategic. What really separates those who thrive from those who are always struggling financially is not the quantity of effort, but the quality and direction of that effort. HISHTADLUT is exactly what it's all about: knowing where to put your energy, when to act, and how to make every financial move work in your favor. If you look at financially successful people, you'll notice that they're not chasing money, they're chasing after them. They don't get stuck in jobs without growth for fear of change. They don't save every last penny without ever investing. And most importantly, they don't waste time on outdated strategies that never generate real wealth. Every step they take is calculated, every investment is well thought out, and every decision is made with a greater purpose. Knowing this, you have two options. You can continue following the same path as always, believing that simply working hard will be enough to achieve financial freedom, or you can make a conscious decision to transform your life. The choice is in your hands. It is not necessary to have a large wealth to start, nor to depend on influential contacts. The real secret lies in changing your mindset, seeking strategic knowledge, and making decisions based on financial intelligence rather than impulses. And if there is something that Jews have always understood very well, it is that shared knowledge multiplies results. In Jewish culture, learning is never a solitary process. Success is something that is built in community, exchanging experiences, helping, and being helped. That's why I want you to be part of this journey with me. That's why it's very important to participate and encourage other people in the community. And for that, write in the comments, what was the biggest insight you had in this video? Join the group of people who apply the Jewish secrets of prosperity and transform your financial life with intelligence. Here, we're building a community focused on strategy, growth, and sound decisions. Sign up now and start walking the path to true wealth. What you've learned here is just the beginning. In the next video, I'll show you even more powerful strategies to accelerate your journey to prosperity, using principles that Jews have applied for centuries. Click now and find out how to take the next step to multiply your wealth smartly.